So, part 3, My Shore Adventure is what it's called. My Shore Adventure. It's all about to kick off. There's going to be arguments. There's going to be treachery. There's going to be going on an island that we've just arrived at in our schooner, the Hispaniola. Here we go, everybody. Sorry about all that madness. 17 minutes past. Oof. Right. All fine. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for confirming. Thank you, Green Teeth. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody who's listening. Thank you, everybody who's tuned in. Here we go. Sorry about the apron if you missed that at the start. I was cooking. Right. Let's get my little thingy up. Come on. You know what I meant? I meant this. Chapter 13. How My Shore Adventure Began. The appearance of the island when I came on deck next morning was altogether changed. Although the breeze had now utterly ceased, we had made a great deal of way during the night and were now lying becalmed about half a mile to the southeast of the low eastern coast. Grey-coloured woods covered a large part of the surface. This even tint was indeed broken up by streaks of yellow sandbreak in the lower lands, and by many tall trees of the pine family, little biologist Jim, out-topping the others, some singly, some in clumps. But the general colouring was uniform and sad. Yeah, it doesn't sound like a very fun island, does it? Actually, altogether, so far. The hill, not the exotic paradise we were led to believe at all, from the dreams of Jim. A lot of Jim's dreams have come crashing down about his ears on this trip. Poor little bastard. The hills ran up clear above the vegetation in spires of naked rock. All were strangely shaped, and the spyglass, that's the main hill, which was by 300 or 400 feet the tallest on the island, big hill, was likewise the strangest in configuration, running up sheer from almost every side, and then suddenly cut off at the top, like a pedestal, to put a statue on. Topical. The Hispaniola was rolling scuppers under in the ocean swell. So making our way into the little naturally occurring port that's there. The booms were tearing at the blocks, the rudder was banging to and fro, and the whole ship creaking, groaning, and jumping like a manufactory. That's a 18th century word for a factory, I guess. A manufactory. Wow, we've been shortening it all these years. You learn something new every time. Every Robert Louis Stevenson, you learn something new. I had to cling tight to the backstay, and the world turned giddily before me eyes. For though I was a good enough sailor when there was a way on, this standing still and being rolled about like a bottle was a thing I never learned to stand without a qualm or so. Above all in the morning, on an empty stomach. That is the pits, isn't it? Just waking up. Morning, Squire. Oh. The ship's just like at anchor going, instead of just sailing smoothly on the winds. And he's not had no breakfast. Oh, God. It's like going on the school battlefields trip. The early morning ferry to Calais. Except many, many miles away. And in a ship made of wood. Perhaps it was this. Perhaps it was the look of the island with its grey, melancholy woods and wild stone spires, and the surf that we could both see and hear foaming and thundering on the steep beach. At least, although the sun shone bright and hot, and the shore birds were fishing and crying all around us, and you would have thought anyone would have been glad to get to land after being so long at sea. My heart sank, as the saying is, into my boots. I knew my heart sank was a saying. I didn't know my heart sank into my boots was specifically a saying. And from that first look onward, I hated the very thought of Treasure Island. That's how I felt when the bloody tech problem was happening. We had a dreary morning's work before us, for there was no sign of any wind, and the boats had to be got out and manned, and the ship warped 3 or 4 miles round the corner of the island and up the narrow passage to the haven behind Skeleton Island. I remember Skeleton Island from the previous chapter, very, very stereotypical pirate name for anything. I volunteered for one of the boats, where I had, of course, no business. The heat was sweltering, and the men grumbled fiercely over their work. Anderson, the boatswain, who pipes man-of-war fashion, was in command of my boat, and instead of keeping the crew in order, he grumbled as loud as the worst. Have we had Anderson's voice yet? We haven't, have we? What's Anderson's voice? Job Anderson. Old Job Anderson. Old. I feel like about 9 people in this story about this. Job Anderson, plucky fella, plays the pipes. Old Job. I don't know. He's just general sailor. Well, he said with an oath. So he swore. So he's basically gone, well, fuck it. It's not forever. I thought this was a very bad sign, for, up to that day, the men had gone briskly and willingly about their business, but the very sight of the island had relaxed the cords of discipline. Yes, because everyone's champing at the bit to get to that treasure. All the way in, Long John stood by the steersman and conned the ship. So he's guiding it along. He knew the passage like the palm of his hand, because he's been there before with Captain Flint to bury the treasure in the first place. And though the man in the chains got everywhere... What? And though the man in the chains got everywhere more water than was down in the chart, John never hesitated once. No idea what any of that means. There's a strong scowl with the ebb, he said. And this here passage has been dug out in a manner of speaking with a spade. We brought up just where... So he's basically saying, like... It's almost as if this naturally occurring passage has been dug out for ships to come into it. We brought up just where the anchor was in the chart, about 1/3 of a mile from each shore, the mainland on one side and Skeleton Island on the other. The bottom was clean sand. The plunge of our anchor sent up clouds of birds wheeling and crying over the woods. Skakla, skakla, skakla. But in less than a minute they were down again. And all was once more silent. Just watching. As the boat comes past. The place was entirely landlocked, buried in woods, the trees coming right down to high water mark, the shores mostly flat, and the hilltops standing round at a distance in a sort of amphitheatre. One here, one there. 2 little rivers, or rather 2 swamps, emptied out into this pond, as you might call it, and the foliage round that part of the shore had a kind of poisonous brightness. From the ship we could see nothing of the house or stockade, so there's a little fort in that were on the map. For they were quite buried among the trees, and if it had not been for the chart on the companion, we might have been the first that had ever anchored there since the island arose out of the seas. So it's a pretty deserted place, this. There was not a breath of air moving, nor a sound but that of the surf booming 1/2 a mile away along the beaches and against the rocks outside. So they're sort of on the ship. They're just listening out. Skakla, 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 boosh. Is that ASMR? Goosh. Skakla, skakla. You get the idea. You got the atmos. A peculiar, stagnant smell hung over the anchorage, a smell of sodden leaves and rotting tree trunks. I observed the doctor sniffing and sniffing, like someone tasting a bad egg. Sorry, it was me. It was just the squire. I'm joking. I don't know about treasure, he said, the doctor said, but I'll stake my wig There's fever here. Always with a wig, Dr. Livesey. If the conduct of the men had been alarming in the boat, it became truly threatening when they'd come aboard. They lay about the deck, growling together in talk. The slightest order was received with a black look, and grudgingly and carelessly obeyed. Even the honest hands must have caught the infection, for there was not one man aboard to mend another. Mutiny, it was plain, hung over us like a thundercloud. And it was not only we of the cabin party who perceived the danger. Long John was hard at work going from group to group, spending himself in good advice, and as for example, no man could have shown a better. He fairly outstripped himself in willingness and civility. He was all smiles to everyone. Machiavelli. If an order were given, John would be on his crutch in an instant with the cheeriest "Aye, aye, sir," in the world. And when there was nothing else to do, he kept up one song after another, as if to conceal the discontent of the rest. So everybody's just kind of going, get on the treasure. And Long John's just sort of hopping round the deck going, "When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore." And then he's finished it. "That's amore. Hey, Mumbo Italia." Constant. England. Long John, shut up. "Just keeping spirits up, sir, just keeping spirits up. He's like, "That's Captain. Will you be quiet there, that man? Just keeping spirits up, Captain, just keeping spirits up." "You'll be the first one dead, son. You'll be the first one dead." "What's that, Silver?" "Nothing, sir, nothing. All the best." Mutiny. It's brewing. Lost my place now. I need to stop doing that. Of all the gloomy features of that gloomy afternoon, this obvious anxiety on the part of Long John appeared the worst. Yeah, it must be pretty obvious that he's sort of panicking if he's just walking around constantly singing. "Ha ha ha ha! How are you? You all right? Ha ha ha! Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting on the island. Ha 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 ha! Oh, that's amore. Ha 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 ha! It must be stressful to plan a meal. It's stressful to have something like that on your mind. I always think that about criminals. The stress. I've had loads of nightmares recently. I think lockdown, I guess from lack of stimulation, I have really mad dreams. And I had a dream that I was in Breaking Bad, the TV show, the other night. And I was just stressed the whole time. Just the knowledge that I'd done these crimes was really stressful. I just felt really guilty all the time. So how Long John is feeling at this moment, I cannot imagine. Because he's planning on, as we know, mutinying, taking the treasure, and literally pulling Squire Trelawney's head off with his bare hands. We held a council in the cabin. "Sir," said the captain, "if I risk another order, the whole ship'll come about our ears by the run. You see, sir, here it is. I get a rough answer, do I not? Well, if I speak back, pikes will be going in 2 shakes. It's all going to kick off. If I don't, Silver will see there's something under that, and the game's up. Now we've only one man to rely on." "And whose hell is that?" asked the squire. "Silver, sir," returned the captain. "He's as anxious as you and I to smother things up. This is a tiff. He'd soon talk him out of it if he had the chance. And what I propose to do is to give him the chance. Let's allow the men an afternoon ashore. If they all go, why? We'll fight the ship. If they're none of them go, well then, we hold the cabin and God defend the right. If some go, you mark my words, sir, Silver will bring them aboard again mild as lambs." Clever bloke, Captain Smollett. It was so decided. Loaded pistols were served out to all the shore men. Hunter, Joyce, and Redruth were taken into our confidence. These are the squire's sort of Downton Abbey servants who've come with him on the journey. "I'll do as you Tell me, squire, all my loyalties with the family Trelawney. They were taken into our confidence and received the news with less surprise and a better spirit than we had looked for. And then the captain went on deck and addressed the crew. "Me lads," said he, "we've had a hot day, and are all tired and out of sorts. A turn ashore alert, nobody. The boats are still in the water. You can take the gigs, and as many as please can go ashore for the afternoon. I'll fire a gun half an hour before sundown." Easy, like, easy. No, don't raise any of the suspicions, anything like that. "Go on, lads, it's been a hot day. You go on shore if you want. Build some sandcastles. Get a bit of tanning on. You go and enjoy yourselves. No pressure, no pressure." "What time will we be back, sir?" I'll fire a cannon when it's time to come back. I'll just fire a cannon." "That seems excessive, sir." Never you mind, youth. You just go and have a nice time. All right. You just mind what you do. Fish. Do some fishing or something. I bet there's fish in that water. I bet there is. Rainbow trout. Oh, that's a freshwater fish. Dace. There should be some good dace. Is dace a freshwater fish or a saltwater fish? I'll be honest, I've mainly got fish info from Animal Crossing. Dace. What are the other big ones in the sea? Bass. Sea bass. They're in the sea. You'll catch some lovely sea bass down there, lads. You go and enjoy yourselves. Don't you worry. I'll fire a cannon when it's time to come home. Don't you worry. Carp. There's some nice carp down there. Lovely carp. Koi carp. Crucian carp. Yeah, that's Crucian carp down there. You bring that. You get that over to that Tom Nook. You get on the island, boys. You go on. Dig some bells up. Have a good afternoon. Dig up some bells, plant some peaches. 400 bells a pop then, boys. You'll be rolling in it. No, we're conflating treasures here. Let's not bring any of the Animal Crossing treasures into the treasures of Treasure Island. But you never know. You don't know what's there, do you? Because we haven't seen the treasure yet. We haven't seen the treasure. I believe the silly fellows must have thought they would break their shins over treasure as soon as they were landed, for they all came out of their sulks in a moment and gave a cheer that started the echo in a faraway hill and sent the birds once more flying and squalling round the anchorage. "Go on, lads, get on shore. Play but a beach volleyball," says Bulbro. "Yeah, take them badminton rackets, youth. Take them badminton rackets. There's 4 shuttlecocks there. You can borrow mine. You have a good time, lads." Yes. Come on, yes. Yeah, you enjoy yourselves, lads. Don't forget your bucket and spade as well. Yeah, bucket and spade, yeah. They're all getting, climbing into the lifeboats. Yeah, you enjoy. Yeah, that's a small it. Come on. Go on, boys. Have a good time. Small it. The captain was too bright to be in the way. He whipped out of sight in a moment. Yeah, enjoy yourselves, lads. And he's gone. Leaving Silver to arrange the party. And I fancy it was as well he did so. Had he been on deck, he could no longer so much have pretended not to understand the situation. It was as plain as day. Silver was the captain, and a mighty rebellious crew he had of it. The honest hands, and I was soon to see it proved that there were such on board, must have been very stupid fellows. Sniffy Jim. Or rather, I suppose, the truth was this, that all hands were disaffected by the example of the ringleaders. Only some more, some less, and a few, being good fellows in the main, could neither be led nor driven any further. It is one thing to be idle and skulk, and quite another to take a ship and murder a number of innocent men. Very true. 2 very different things. It's one thing to be in a sulk. It's another thing to murder everybody. Very well observed, Robert Louis Stevenson. Very well observed. At last, however, the party was made up. 6 fellows were to stay on board, and the remaining 13, including Silver, began to embark. Then it was that there came into my head the first of the mad notions that contributed so much to save our lives. He's always slipping in these little brags, isn't he, Jim? It was then that I had another brilliant idea that basically saved everyone, before he's even told us how he saved them. He's arrogant for a 6-year-old. If 6 men were left by Silver, it was plain our party could not take and fight the ship, and since only 6 were left, it was equally plain that the cabin party had no present need of my assistance. It occurred to me at once to go ashore. In a jiffy, I had slipped over the side and curled up in the foresheets of the nearest boat, and almost at the same moment she shoved off. No one took notice of me. Only the bow oar saying, "Is that you, Jim? Keep your head down." But Silver, from the other boat, looked sharply over. Doesn't miss a trick, Long John. And called out to know if that were me. And from that moment, I began to regret what I had done. The crews raced for the beach, but the boat I was in, having some start, and being at once the lighter and the better manned, shot far ahead of a consort, and the bow had struck among the shoreside trees, and I'd caught a branch and swung myself out. That's pretty cool. So the boat's gone like, ooh, boom, and Jim's gone, and landed on the sand, just like Long John when he came aboard, like Yoda with his lightsaber, ready for action, and plunged into the nearest thicket, while Silver and the rest were still 100 yards behind him. "Jim! Jim!" I heard him shouting. But you may suppose I paid no heed. Jumping, ducking, and breaking through, I ran straight before my nose, till I could run no longer. End of chapter.